Good morning, East Alabama, and all points beyond. Wherever you're watching from, we welcome you in, and we're glad to have you along for the next hour here on Southern Sports Now. I'm Chase Robinson. Glad you are hanging out with us. We got a big show today, lots to get to. We talked yesterday, the SEC schedules released for 2024. We're going to break that down, have some reaction as we move through the show. We first of all want to remind you where you can watch us as we are live on the East Alabama Now YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, search for East Alabama Now. There we are. We're live. You can do the same on Facebook on the East Alabama Now Facebook page. Go ahead and like the page while you're there. You can see what all we have going on with East Alabama Now. Follow us on Twitter at EAN_sports. You can follow the link there to watch us. If you're on YouTube and Facebook, drop us a comment, share it with your friends, and would love for you to share the word about Southern Sports Now. We also want to remind you about our segment that we've started doing on Fridays. It is our mailbag, the Southern Sports Now mailbag, where you can submit all of your sports questions, and I'll answer them on the show coming up tomorrow, as I do each and every Friday. So how can you submit questions? Well, there's several opportunities. EANsports23@gmail.com, our email address. You can email those in. Send us a message on the East Alabama Now Facebook page, or you can send us a message there on our Twitter at EAN_sports. So those are the ways you can submit a question. Or if you're watching live right now and you want to submit a question, just drop it down in the comments, and we'll add those to our stash of mail to open up tomorrow as we'll get to all of your sports questions. So that is coming up tomorrow, so get those in while you can today on this Thursday. Let's look at our countdown to college football. We're getting close, folks. 72 days away from college football kicking off Week 0, August the 26th. There's 10 games on Week 0, including Jacksonville State, as Jack State takes on UTEP there, Week 0. So we're 72 days away from college football and from Jacksonville State Gamecock football, and Rich Rod's second year leading the Gamecocks. Countdown to high school football. We are 70 days away from August the 24th. That is Week 0 of the high school football season. So we are 70 days away from the high school football season. Teams working out, preparing, 7-on-7s, getting ready for the high school football season, but 70 days away from high school football, 72 from college football. It will be here before we know it, folks. Let's kick the show off as we always do with our top 5 headlines. Let's see what's going on in the world of sports today. Big news out of Jacksonville State, and man, he's a good one. Jim Case, head baseball coach, announced his retirement. He'll be stepping away from the Gamecock program. 22 years as head coach at Jacksonville State, 41 years as a coach on the Division I level. Jim Case, one of the good ones. We'll give you some numbers of what he did in his time with the Gamecocks coming up a little bit later on. But congratulations to Coach Jim Case as he announces his retirement from Jacksonville State. Braves in the doubleheader yesterday. Of course, the game on Tuesday night rained out. They had to move it to yesterday, so they played a doubleheader. Braves won both games in the doubleheader yesterday in Detroit, so they took the series 2-1. Detroit won that opener in 10 innings on Monday night, but the Braves were able to go out. Spencer Strider led the way yesterday in Game 1, and then Dylan Dodd there in Game 2. Just a great day for Braves, especially offensively, as they get the win, 2 wins in the doubleheader. The 2024 SEC schedules released last night. We'll look at these in depth, break these down, look at the toughest schedules in the SEC. We got a lot to get to with this. I'm excited. We are going to see some fantastic matchups in 2024. Of course, no divisions. Texas and Oklahoma is in the conference. It's going to be a lot of fun, and so we will look at those schedules a little bit later on, but certainly excited when those were released last night. The Vipers, the Smash It Sports Vipers, they will call Choccolocco Park home this summer. Their season begins today. The season opener, they are out in Oklahoma City, taking on the Spark tonight. So Vipers season begins. There are some really good softball players on this team. A lot of names. If you keep up with college softball and you watch the Super Regionals and you watch the Women's College World Series, there's a lot of names you saw on some of those teams that are going to be playing for the Vipers this year. So you don't want to miss out. We'll give you their full schedule coming up in just a little bit. But their season starts today. They have their first home series in a couple of weeks at Choccolocco Park. So you're going to want to check out the Vipers coming up this summer as they play at Choccolocco Park. But they will get things going tonight against Spark in Oklahoma City. There as part of the Women's Professional Fast Pitch Softball League. And in golf, the U.S. Open begins today. There's been a lot of chat, obviously, on golf the last couple of weeks with the announcement of the PGA Tour and LIV merging. So the U.S. Open begins today. You're going to have a lot of these golfers there this week. This is really the first major tournament since that announcement. And so I'm sure that there will be lots of questions asked of the players that are competing there in the U.S. Open, and a lot of talk coming out about the merger. And so that's something to keep an eye on, and you'll have all these golfers there together, and they'll be all together very soon, whether you're PGA or LIV. And so that will be interesting to follow this weekend there in the U.S. Open. So those are your top 5 headlines on this Thursday as we get close to wrapping up another week. But again, we're going to talk SEC football in depth today, the schedule release. We're going to talk some high school sports later on. Piedmont girls basketball coach had a chance to catch up with him, Shane Morrow. He's new on the job. We'll talk to him later. We'll talk with Peyton Webb, two-way player of the year from Donahoe. We'll talk to him later on in the show. We'll get you ready for the Braves tonight. But coming up, we'll talk Jim Case. We'll talk some Vipers and more. So stick around as Southern Sports Now continues on this Thursday.
Here at Ted's, we are excited to now be offering custom-made cabinets. With that in mind, we're changing our name to Ted's Floors and Beyond. The Beyond is going to encompass everything that we offer in addition to all of your flooring needs.
We've partnered with Welber Cabinet Company, who makes the highest quality cabinets in the industry.
So when you're ready for a complete kitchen or bathroom remodel, shop Ted's.
EAN Sports is proud to bring you the best, most informative local sports content, and we want your help to be able to do that. If you have a story idea, a tip for our sportscast, or even a highlight clip you want to see on EAN Local Sports, send us an email, eansports23@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter @EAN_sports, or you can send it to the EAN News Facebook page. EAN Sports, bringing you the local sports happening in your community.
For metal buildings in Alabama and the Southeast, Waldrop Manufacturing is your one-stop source. A Waldrop metal building provides the coverage and protection your investments need. They specialize in carports, RV covers, portable buildings, and storage buildings. Stop paying rent for storage. With Waldrop's price per foot, you can actually save money by buying straight from the manufacturer. Waldrop buildings are guaranteed because Waldrop manufactures buildings with U.S. Steel right here in Calhoun County. Waldrop Manufacturing, serving the entire Southeast. Give them a call today.
If you see some interesting weather phenomenon in your backyard here in East Alabama, send that to us. We would love to hear from you. Send that to us at the email address you see on your screen or through Facebook at EAN News.
Ted's Floors and Beyond. They bring you this segment of Southern Sports Now. They have formed a partnership with Welborn Cabinet to now offer you a complete kitchen or bath makeover. That includes cabinets, countertops, flooring, backsplashes, and tile showers. And of course, they still have all the types of flooring you would want. Hardwood, laminate, carpet, tile, luxury vinyl, 0% interest financing for 12 months, and they do free in-home estimates. Lifetime warranty on flooring installation. So check out Ted's Floors and Beyond. They're locally owned and operated. They will help you get what you need, and they'll be very helpful there in the store right off Highway 431 in Anniston, or online, shopteds.com. Ted's Floors and Beyond brings you this segment of Southern Sports Now. So as we go into this segment, I mentioned in the top 5 headlines, Jim Case, longtime Jacksonville State head baseball coach, announced his retirement. And this is if you're a Jacksonville State fan, this is sad. I mean, he has been 22 years the head coach of the Gamecocks, 41 years as a Division I coach. And look at some of these numbers here. His record at Jacksonville State, 673 and 559 over his 20 years there as the head coach. 9 conference championships for the head coach. 5 NCAA regional appearances for Jim Case. He won more than 30 games 16 times. He won more than 20 conference games 4 times. He set an OVC record with 23 conference wins back in 2008. He's had 28 players move on to sign Major League Baseball contracts. 22 were drafted in the MLB draft. You could go on, and 18 All-Americans, 85 All-Conference players. OVC Coach of the Year 3 times in 05, 08, and 19. Just what he did at Jacksonville State over his 20 years is truly incredible, and a great guy as well. I mean, just in the interactions that I had with him over the years that I've been covering Jacksonville State, he's one of the good ones, and he will be missed by the Jacksonville State faithful for sure. And I hope he enjoys his retirement. He's worked hard for it, and Jacksonville State will begin their nationwide search immediately for a new head baseball coach as they'll enter into the Conference USA this year, July 1. Gamecocks are in Conference USA, so they'll have a new slate of teams in conference coming up next year, and a new coach to lead them through it. But Jim Case is one of the good guys, and wish him the best as he enters retirement. And he's leaving Jacksonville State in a really good spot. And what's interesting, he is actually only the second baseball coach at Jacksonville State. He's the 6th all time, but the second since 1970. Of course, Rudy Abbott for many, many years, the head coach there at Jacksonville State, field named after him. Jim Case has the stadium named after him there at Jacksonville State. He's been there for 22. So whoever gets this job next at Jacksonville State is stepping into a very tradition-rich baseball program there at Jacksonville State with, again, remarkable 6 coaches all time, but 2 since 1970. That shows, the coaches come in here to stay, and they are successful there at Jacksonville State. So I'm excited to see where they go next, who they turn to. And, again, it's a really good job there at Jacksonville State with the baseball program. Always successful, always, make a run at the conference championship. Like we mentioned, has 5 NCAA regional appearances. Just in his time there. Of course, they Division II national champs back in the late 80s, early 90s. And so Jacksonville State baseball has a lot of tradition to it. And so it's going to be a good job for whoever steps into that. Of course, we'll be all over that, keeping you informed as they will begin the coaching search and make a decision on the next head baseball coach. And so we will provide that information as it comes to us for sure. Moving over to the softball field, the Vipers. We're getting ready for some Vipers softball this summer there at Choccolocco Park in Oxford. They actually begin the season today, though, as they are out in Oklahoma City, and they're taking on the Spark. And then they will take on the team from Texas. But there's some really good players on this team. I'm excited to watch them coming up. We got an Alabama player, a couple Tennessee players from Louisiana. I mean, all over the place. Some really good college softball players are playing this year as part of the Vipers team. And you think of some of these summer leagues that you're like, well, I don't know any of the players playing. I mean, they're from all over the place. No, these are top tier softball players who got these professional contracts. This is not some team that from a league nobody's ever heard of. This is one of the 2 professional softball leagues in the country. And so these are for real players that are going to be playing here that you'll see probably on Team USA next round of the Olympics playing with the United States. So these are really good softball players who are looking to make a professional career out of it. So let's look at the schedule for the Vipers. They start off again tonight, their first game, as they take on the Oklahoma City Spark. Then a trip to take on the Texas Smoke. And then the 23rd through 25th is the first home series as they'll host the Texas Smoke. And then, look, they've got 4 straight home series. So that is 4 weekends you'll be able to go out to Choccolocco Park and watch some Viper softball as they host the Smoke, the Spark, USSSA Pride, and then the Spark once again there July 10th through 12th. Then they'll go on the road for a few weeks and then return home for 2 more home series. And hopefully in August there, 11th through 17th, we'll be talking about the Vipers getting ready for the Women's Professional Fast Pitch Championship Series. So it's just the 4 teams, Vipers, Spark, Smoke, and Pride are the 4 teams right now in the Women's Professional Fast Pitch League. I'm sure more will be added very soon, but again, this is going to be some really, really good softball. And with it being a few teams, obviously they're all going to be playing at Choccolocco Park eventually. And other players, you'll see Oklahoma players that just won a national championship. You'll see other Alabama players that are on these different teams that'll be playing at Choccolocco Park. So if you're a softball fan of any sort, you should go out and check out the Smash It Sports Vipers at their time in Oxford. You can watch the games on the Women's Professional Fast Pitch League website. They'll be doing a live stream of the games, so you can check those out there. But the Vipers begin their season today, so we'll be cheering them on, and we'll let you know the results of their game on the show tomorrow. But they'll head into a 3-game series there with the Oklahoma City Spark to get the season going. And they were out practicing, I know, at Choccolocco Park the other night, getting some work in. And they've added a couple players in the last few days to add to the squad. So the Vipers are ready to go and ready to start this summer season. So we'll be talking Vipers all summer long. Hopefully we can get Coach Glasgow on with us and get some insight from him on this Vipers team. But we'll be covering the Vipers all summer long as they take on these other women's professional fast pitch teams there at Choccolocco Park. Let's jump to a break here. We've got a lot to talk about as far as SEC schedules. We will do that on the other side. Stick around.
Here at Ted's, we are excited to now be offering custom-made cabinets. With that in mind, we're changing our name to Ted's Floors and Beyond. The Beyond is going to encompass everything that we offer in addition to all of your flooring needs.
We've partnered with Welber Cabinet Company, who makes the highest quality cabinets in the industry.
So when you're ready for a complete kitchen or bathroom remodel, shop Ted's.
Since 1993, WM Grocery has been a major part of our local community. WM offers the very best in fresh produce and an outstanding meat department. WM also has many local products not found anywhere else and fresh sushi every day. If you need an event catered, come see Mrs. K at any WM store. Curbside pickup is also available for your online grocery orders. Be sure to download the WM app for all the deals of the week and shopper rewards. Go check them out today at any of their locations.
We take pride in our community and appreciate your business.
For metal buildings in Alabama and the Southeast, Waldrop Manufacturing is your one-stop source. A Waldrop metal building provides the coverage and protection your investments need. They specialize in carports, RV covers, portable buildings, and storage buildings. Stop paying rent for storage. With Waldrop's price per foot, you can actually save money by buying straight from the manufacturer. Waldrop buildings are guaranteed because Waldrop manufactures buildings with U.S. steel right here in Calhoun County. Waldrop Manufacturing, serving the entire Southeast. Give them a call today.
East Alabama Now Local News has been bringing you the best local news coverage for 6 months. And now we're growing.
EAN News will be available to you 5 nights a week with new faces, new content, and coverage that is second to none.
We'll be bringing you the weather that matters to your neighborhood and to you. Rain or shine, you'll be in the know.
Sports always brings communities together, and EAN Sports will have coverage of all of our area events.
East Alabama Now, local news. New faces, same great coverage. Starting 5 days a week, May 1st. EAN Local News, your news on your schedule.
We are back here on Southern Sports Now on this Thursday. Hope you're having a great start to your day. And if you were me last night, you were excited about the release of the 2024 SEC football schedules. And I know a lot of folks, or Twitter was absolutely blowing up last night. We had some folks, putting out some projections before it came out of who they thought would play who. And but I am fired up for the 2024 season. Obviously, I'm very excited for this year as well. But 2024, no divisions, Texas and Oklahoma come into the league, and it is going to set up for some really, really good college football in the SEC. And we're going to see some matchups we haven't seen in a long time. We're going to see some coaches, battle it out who we haven't seen play a lot. And so I'm fired up. I am ready for what's to come with the 2024 SEC, and with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma. I'll be honest, when the news came out a couple of years ago that they were looking at adding Texas and Oklahoma, I thought, because at the time neither team, was I felt SEC quality. I mean, very tradition-rich teams. Texas has definitely taken a big step up. Steve Sarkisian, a fantastic head coach. We'll see what Oklahoma can do. They didn't have a great year last year, but I think they will get much better. But you're adding two tradition-rich teams, two good football teams into the SEC, and I'm excited to see it. We'll get to my top 10 games of the year coming up. We'll get to the top 10 toughest schedules coming up. But I want to kind of dissect several schedules for you. We'll look at Alabama, Auburn, and then we'll look at Texas and Oklahoma, since they're the kind of the new kids on the block, and we'll look at Alabama and Auburn as well. But let's start with the Auburn Tigers. Let's look at who they have as far as their home and their road games in 2024. So at home, Auburn has got Arkansas. That's the typical matchup we see every year. They've got Oklahoma. That's tough for both teams right there. That should be a really good matchup. They've only played, I believe, 3 times in their history of football, Auburn and Oklahoma. We see a typical Auburn, Texas A&M, with both teams being in the West. We've typically seen that. And then we see Auburn, Vanderbilt. So they get Vanderbilt at home. Their road games. Auburn's got a tough road schedule in 24. They go to Alabama. They go to Georgia. Then they've got Kentucky on the road, and they've got Missouri on the road. So they've got their 2 rivals, Alabama and Georgia. That's typically how it's worked out for Auburn, that whenever they go to Alabama or to Georgia, they go to the other one as well. The following year, they'll have them at home. I like Auburn's home schedule. I think those are winnable games for Auburn. I think it sets up a really good matchup with adding Oklahoma into the mix. We typically see good Auburn-Arkansas matchups and good Auburn A&M matchups. And so their road schedule is tough. Kentucky is a tough place to play as well. And year in and year out, Kentucky just gets better with Mark Stoops leading the team there. But Kentucky's a tough place to play, and we don't see Auburn make the trip up to Kentucky much, or the trip to Missouri. We saw what happened with Auburn and Missouri this year, and so that could be a tough road game there for the Tigers as well. But that is Auburn's 2024 SEC matchups. Under Hugh Freeze, obviously, will have his first go at it at Auburn this year, and we'll see how he fares in the West. But I like their schedule in 2024. It's not the toughest that we see in the SEC by any means there for the Auburn Tigers. Let's look at the Alabama Crimson Tide at their SEC matchups for 2024. They've got Auburn at home. This is going to be fun. They've got Georgia in Tuscaloosa. They've got Missouri coming to Bryant-Denny, and they've got a home game with South Carolina. But look at this road schedule for Alabama. They go to LSU. LSU beat them in Baton Rouge this past year. They go to Oklahoma, a game we've only seen a handful of times with Alabama and Oklahoma playing in the regular season. So they have to go to Stillwater. And then they go to Tennessee. Keep in mind, Tennessee also beat Alabama this past year in Knoxville. And then Alabama will make the trip to Vanderbilt. So I'm telling, and I'll give you my top 10 toughest schedules in just a little bit. But this one's high up there because look at those road trips with LSU, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. And you have to host the Georgia Bulldogs coming off, possibly in 2024, it could be 3 straight national championships, at least 2 and a deep run for Georgia, because I think they'll at least make a deep run this year. But you've got Auburn home, Georgia at home, which I think that'll help Alabama hosting Georgia, but still it's going to be a really tough game. You're hosting South Carolina. That's a matchup we haven't seen in like 10 years, Alabama and South Carolina. And keep in mind, South Carolina beat Alabama 2010, 2011. They beat Alabama there in South Carolina, so that could be an interesting matchup as well. But this is a tough Alabama schedule in 2024. You know, Nick Saban was all about not wanting the 9-game schedule because he didn't like his permanent opponents of Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU, and he's got all 3 of those on the schedule in 2024, which I love those matchups, and they're going to be really entertaining. You got to keep the Iron Bowl. You got to keep the 3rd Saturday in October, and the way these Alabama-LSU matchups have been over the years, you've got to have them on the schedule as well. And so I'm in favor. I mean, it's a tough schedule for Alabama, and Nick Saban's gonna have to really do some recruiting and get some guys in who can win these games, because with the way the divisions are now, with no divisions, you're gonna see Oklahoma a lot. You're gonna see Texas a lot, and obviously they're playing Texas last year and this year, not knowing that they were going to be in the same conference. But the road games are tough for Alabama, going to 2 teams who beat you this past year at their home stadium, and then you go back on the road to them. Tough schedule for the Alabama Crimson Tide there, but we'll see how they fare. I'm telling you, the more I look at these schedules, I've been looking at these schedules since about 6 o'clock this morning, and I'm just getting more excited every time I see them. Let's look at Texas now, because obviously Texas, one of the new kids on the block, and this is their first test in the SEC, will be 2024. So they get Florida at home, they get Georgia at home, they get Kentucky at home, and they get Mississippi State at home. So those are home games for Texas. They only have 3 road games because they have that neutral game over there, but they've got Arkansas on the road, they've got Texas A&M on the road, and they've got Vanderbilt on the road. What's interesting, and I mentioned this yesterday, I was interested to see where the first Texas A&M matchup was going to be held, and it is going to be in College Station. Ross Bjork, the Texas A&M athletic director, has been saying for weeks the SEC told him that A&M would host the first one, even though they hosted the last time the 2 teams played. But A&M will host that Texas A&M bitter rivalry. Obviously, we haven't seen it lately because they haven't been in the same conference, in 10 years since A&M came over to the SEC. But this rivalry will be rekindled, and that makes me excited. And then you got Oklahoma and Texas. They'll be playing in Dallas. That will be a neutral site game each year in that big rivalry. And so you got Florida and Georgia. That's a good thing you got Florida and Georgia at home if you're Texas, Kentucky, Mississippi State as well. But tough road trips there for Texas, taking on Arkansas and A&M, Vanderbilt, whatever. But that will be tough, Texas going to A&M. And then, of course, their rival over there on the neutral field at Oklahoma. Let's look at Oklahoma's schedule for SEC play in 2024. Again, Oklahoma, the other new kid on the block. They host Alabama, they host Tennessee, and they host South Carolina. And I don't know what Oklahoma did to the SEC to put the teams on the schedule that they did. But it's going to be a tough road for Oklahoma here. But at least you have Alabama, Tennessee, and South Carolina at home. Because if Oklahoma went on the road to these three their first year, it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good for the Sooners. But Oklahoma does have to travel to Auburn. That'll be a tough one. They do have to travel to LSU. That's a really tough one. They'll go to Ole Miss and to Missouri, and then that neutral site game with the Longhorns in Dallas. So they just get 3 home games because of the neutral game. Texas had 4 home games, 3 road games. Oklahoma gets 3 home games, 4 road games with the neutral. And so, but that's going to be a tough road trip to Auburn. Again, they've only played 3 times in their history of football. And so Auburn in Jordan-Hare Stadium, if this is, in 2024, ESPN has a contract, so we'll probably see more primetime games. So this will probably be a 6 o'clock kick. That's tough for Oklahoma to go in Jordan-Hare Stadium for a 6 kick. And then to Baton Rouge, take on LSU. Again, probably a 6 o'clock kickoff. That will be an insane atmosphere for Oklahoma to play in. They'll be playing in the Grove there at Ole Miss. That will also be a really tough place to play. And then, Oklahoma, Missouri. Missouri can be a tough place to play. I'll give them that. And then, of course, the Oklahoma-Texas game is going to be great every year. But I think Alabama, Tennessee, and South Carolina fans will travel to see this too because, look, as far as Oklahoma goes, Josh Heupel, Tennessee head coach, a former Oklahoma Sooner, played there, spent time as a coach there. And then, obviously, Alabama and Oklahoma, we've seen them play in the postseason, some really good games. And then Shane Beamer, South Carolina head coach, spent time at Oklahoma as well. And so Tennessee and South Carolina both have ties to the Oklahoma Sooners, and they'll have to travel to Oklahoma to play there this year. So that's kind of some schedules of what they look like. I've got some more things I want us to look at, though. First, let's look at my top 10 matchups of 2024. First, though, let's look at the top 10 toughest schedules in 2024. And I'm going to count down to this. So Texas A&M, I've got them as the 10th toughest schedule. All right, we'll look at my top 10 games in 2024 now. First, in my top 10 games, I've got Texas and Texas A&M. Again, we mentioned Texas is going to have to go on the road to A&M to College Station this year. I think that's one of the ones that everyone wants to see. Every college football fan is going to be excited to see Texas at Texas A&M. So I've got that at number 1 on my top 10. Georgia at Alabama in 2024. We saw it in the national championship in 2018. We saw them in the national championship in 21. Georgia coming off 2 national championships. So I think that will be a really exciting matchup in Bryant-Denny Stadium. So I've got Georgia at Alabama, my number 2 game of 2024. Number 3, this is a game you don't see a lot, Georgia at Texas. And this could be a new reality with the Bulldogs and the Longhorns. Talk about some good tradition-rich football. Georgia at Texas. I've got that as my number 3 game in 2024. My number 4 game in 2024 is Tennessee at Oklahoma because their styles are so similar. Like I mentioned a minute ago, Josh Heupel played at Oklahoma, coached at Oklahoma. Now he's head coach at Tennessee. So I've got that as my number 4 matchup there, Tennessee at Oklahoma. Number 5, we've seen so many good Alabama at LSU games. I mean, so many good games. I think back over the years, just all the overtime games, the game of the century back in 2012 as, of course, the field goals, all that was scored was field goals, 9-6. LSU beat Alabama and back in Bryant-Denny Stadium. So I've got Alabama at LSU, number 5. And, I mean, think back to last year, overtime game, and LSU with a 2-point conversion to win the game. Unbelievable games we've seen in this Alabama-LSU rivalry. I'm so glad they kept this intact in the 2024 year, so that's my number 5. Number 6, I've got Oklahoma at LSU. Again, this is a game we have not seen a lot. LSU's a tough place to play. This is not a game Oklahoma's used to playing. They're not used to playing in what they're going to play in Baton Rouge. And so I've got Oklahoma at LSU, my number 6 game in 2024, because I'm excited to see how Oklahoma can react playing in probably the toughest atmosphere in the SEC. Number 7, Alabama at Oklahoma. Again, the tradition is the first thing you think about when you see this, this matchup. Alabama, a lot of tradition. Oklahoma, they've played a few times. They've played a couple times in the playoffs and had some really good games. And Brent Venables, of course, the head coach at Oklahoma, didn't have a great year last year, but has been able to recruit well. And so I think this Alabama-Oklahoma matchup, I'm excited to see that. I've got that as my number 7. Number 8, a rivalry we're used to seeing in Texas at Oklahoma, but there's more on the line to this game, I think, as they move into the SEC. With no divisions, obviously it's going to be the top 2 teams in the conference will play for the SEC championship. So this game, I think, will go a long way in who can make it to the SEC championship if one of these teams has the opportunity to. So I think, yes, it's a very big game in the Big 12, but I think it's going to ramp up as they move into the SEC with this Texas at Oklahoma game. Number 9, LSU at Texas. Again, Brian Kelly has done a great job with this LSU program just in year 1 of completely flipping the script and turning them around to be a consistently good program. They haven't had that. Ed Orgeron had that one good year when Joe Burrow was the quarterback. Les Miles won a couple had a couple of good years, won a national championship, and had his kind of good ride there at LSU, but Brian Kelly's going to get them back relevant and consistent. Steve Sarkisian is getting Texas back to being relevant and consistent. So you've got LSU and Texas. I think that'll be a really fun game to watch as they'll play every few years. They're swapping back and forth, and that's going to be a big eye-opener for the Longhorns as well as they go to Baton Rouge to take on LSU when that rolls around. And then my 10th matchup is Florida at Texas, because this is a matchup you don't see much at all with the Gators and the Longhorns. And I think Billy Napier's starting to get the train rolling there at Florida. And so Florida at Texas, I think, is going to be a solid matchup and one I'm excited about seeing. But those are my top 10 games that I'm looking forward to in 2024. And so, again, we are set up for some really, really good matchups as this thing rolls around in 2024. I want to look at the top 10 toughest schedules now as it comes to SEC in 2024. So here are the top 10, in my opinion, the top 10 toughest schedules. First up, Texas A&M. The reason I've got them 10 is they do go to Auburn. That'll be a tough one. They do go to Florida. This is a matchup we haven't seen much at all. And like I was just saying, Billy Napier's got this thing turned around. They go to South Carolina. You got to get a drink here. Bear with me here. I'm so excited about this college football. I'm a little parched here. South Carolina, really tough place to play. And so I think Texas A&M, we saw South Carolina beat them this year at South Carolina, so I think that increases the toughness of Texas A&M's schedule. They also go to Mississippi State. They'll play host to LSU, Missouri, and Texas, and their non-conference game that makes it an even tougher schedule is Notre Dame. And so that's their big non-conference game. So I've got A&M with the 10th toughest schedule. The 9th toughest schedule, South Carolina. They have to go to Oklahoma. That's tough. They have to go to Alabama. They have to go to Kentucky and go to Vanderbilt. Good news, though, if you're South Carolina, you do host LSU. You do host Ole Miss, Missouri, and Texas A&M. And then they'll go to Clemson. Obviously, that is their non-conference rivalry game to end the season every year. Always love that game. That's a fun one. But they'll they'll go to Oklahoma and Alabama, which is going to be really tough for the Gamecocks. But good news is they do get to host LSU, Ole Miss, and Missouri. So that's why I've got South Carolina at number 9. Number 8, toughest schedule, in my opinion, is the Kentucky Wildcats. They go to Florida. They go to Ole Miss. They go to Tennessee and to Texas. So Kentucky, that trip to Texas is going to be tough. Trip to Tennessee, that's a matchup we've seen. Obviously, they've both been in the East. We don't get to see Kentucky Ole Miss a lot. We did last year, and it was a fantastic game, overtime game, really fun. Ole Miss was able to pull that one out, but I think that's a tough road schedule. They do get to host Auburn, Georgia, South Carolina, and Vandy. There are quite a few SEC East teams on Kentucky's schedule, which I thought was interesting. I thought they may mix up Kentucky's schedule just a little bit, but they kind of kept a few East teams in there, which the East is getting better, so it does make Kentucky's schedule pretty tough, but I've got Kentucky there at number 8. Number 7, toughest schedule, I've got the LSU Tigers. Why? Because they've got USC to start the season off on a neutral site field in Las Vegas. So LSU, USC, in Las Vegas. We know what USC has and has done, and Lincoln Riley will be working that portal, I promise you, getting ready for the 2024 season. They get to host Alabama, Oklahoma, and Ole Miss, though. I think that helps LSU getting to host those 3 games. They do have to go to Florida. And we've seen some really good LSU Florida games. They do have to go to South Carolina, which is a tough place to play. And they do have to go to A&M. Now, they've done this A&M LSU game on a neutral field before. They're going to do that as a home and home now. And so that will be tough having to go or having to host them. Having to go on the road to College Station. That will be tough for the LSU Tigers. I've got them number 7 toughest. Number 6 toughest is the Tennessee Vols because they have to go to Georgia and to Oklahoma. They also will go to Arkansas, but they do get to host Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt. So, but the fact they have to travel to Oklahoma and travel to Georgia makes me put them at number 6. And they do have Alabama on the schedule. They do have Florida on the schedule and Mississippi State on the schedule, which I think will all be tough games for the Tennessee Vols. Number 5 on my top 10 toughest is Oklahoma. And I mentioned this. I don't know what Oklahoma did to the SEC, but they threw some tough teams on their schedule. They have to go to Auburn. They have to go to Ole Miss and to LSU. That's 3 really tough places to play. And Oklahoma gets them right off the bat when they join the conference. They do get to host Tennessee, South Carolina, and Alabama, which will be really tough games, but I think it helps them being able to host them and not having to go to Tennessee or Alabama your first year in the SEC. And, of course, they'll have Texas on the neutral field. But the reason I put Oklahoma at 5 is because they do have that first of all, they have Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss on their schedule. But they have to go to Auburn and to Ole Miss. I think that bumps Oklahoma's strength of schedule up for sure. Number 4 on my list, I've got the Vanderbilt Commodores. And again, the fact that Texas and Oklahoma have been added and will play Vanderbilt, and obviously we saw Vanderbilt win a couple of games this year and looked good. I think Clark Lee has the chance to get this program rolling, but Vanderbilt's never going to be an Alabama, an Auburn, an A&M, an LSU, a Tennessee. They're never going to be quite at that level. And so any year their schedule's tough. But you look at, they have to go to Auburn. When the SEC wasn't as strong as the West, Vanderbilt could get by. There's no divisions now. So there's just a free-for-all for Vanderbilt. They have to go to Auburn. They have to go to LSU. They go to Missouri and to Kentucky. That Auburn and that LSU game are going to be tough for the Commodores. They get to host Alabama, which is a good thing. They host South Carolina. They host Tennessee. And they host Texas. Those are 4 really tough places to play. And so Vanderbilt should be glad they have them at home in 2024. But that Auburn game and that LSU game and that Missouri and Kentucky game on the road will be very tough for Clark Lee and Vanderbilt. So I've got them at number 4. Number 3 toughest schedule, in my opinion, is the Georgia Bulldogs, because they have to travel to Alabama. They have to travel to Texas, to Kentucky, and to Ole Miss. Again, Georgia and Texas. I'm excited about that game. They're at Texas, but I know a lot of people are excited for the Georgia-Alabama. It's a matchup we've seen occasionally in the regular season, but obviously not a lot as far as cross-divisional matchups. But Alabama, Georgia, they're in Tuscaloosa. Georgia hosts Auburn, though. They host Mississippi State, and they host Tennessee. We saw what Georgia and Tennessee looked like last year. Really, compelling game, and so they'll get to host the Tennessee Vols. They got the neutral site game, though, down in Jacksonville, Florida, as always, taking on the Florida Gators. So I've got Georgia there at number 3 there with their schedule. Number 2, and I mentioned Alabama as a tough schedule. They'll go to LSU, beat them last year. They go to Oklahoma, tough place to play in Stillwater. They go to Tennessee, beat them this past year in Knoxville. And then they go to Vanderbilt. So you got the 2 teams that beat you this past year, you go to them in 2024. You get to host Auburn, you host Georgia, you host Missouri, and you host South Carolina. And they will also, and this is going to be a tough game for Alabama, because their non-conference game in 2024 at Wisconsin. They go to Wisconsin to play in 2024. And let me just tell you, Wisconsin's going to be much better on the football field coming up this year and moving forward. They got a new coaching staff who is just recruiting. And the Badgers are going to be tough. And so Alabama's strength of schedule went up when they scheduled that game with Wisconsin. But the SEC teams on this schedule, it is tough. That's why I have Alabama there at number 2. And number 1 toughest schedule is the Florida Gators. My goodness. They go to Mississippi State, to Texas, and to Tennessee. They will host Texas A&M, Kentucky, and Ole Miss. They'll play the neutral site game with Georgia, and their non-conference is Miami. And let me tell you, Miami is about to take a big step up. And so you'll have the interstate matchup there with Miami and Florida, which I'm super excited about in 2024. That will be a fantastic game. But for Florida, they've got, again, they're used to playing in the East, but they've got quite a few West teams now with Mississippi State, with Texas A&M, with Ole Miss, and Texas into the mix in that as well. This is a brutal schedule for Florida, and then add Miami on top of that. I believe they by far have the toughest schedule in 2024 in the SEC, but I like what Billy Napier's doing right now and getting it done there for the Florida Gators. So those are my top 10 toughest schedules coming up in 2024 as the schedules were released last night in the SEC. We'll grab a timeout. We'll talk some high school sports on the other side. Stick around.
Here at Ted's, we are excited to now be offering custom-made cabinets. With that in mind, we're changing our name to Ted's Floors and Beyond. The Beyond is going to encompass everything that we offer in addition to all of your flooring needs.
We've partnered with Welber Cabinet Company, who makes the highest quality cabinets in the industry.
So when you're ready for a complete kitchen or bathroom remodel, shop Ted's.
Since 1993, WM Grocery has been a major part of our local community. WM offers the very best in fresh produce and an outstanding meat department. WM also has many local products not found anywhere else and fresh sushi every day. If you need an event catered, come see Mrs. K at any WM store. Curbside pickup is also available for your online grocery orders. Be sure to download the WM app for all the deals of the week and shopper rewards. Go check them out today at any of their locations.
We take pride in our community and appreciate your business.
Hi, I'm Dr. Brodney Sneed from both CARES and Direct Primary Care. Direct Primary Care is an exciting new model of medical care growing on both the East and West Coast. It's been recommended by Forbes and the American Academy of Family Physicians and others for individuals or small businesses with or without health insurance. The pure simplicity of a membership model streamlines the burden of medical care. It eliminates 60% of the overhead. That streamlining allows providers time to focus on patients with free, no copay, no deductible, unhurried office visits or telehealth visits with minimal waiting room time. It produces same or next day appointments and access by text or telephone during and after hours. It saves you from leaving work, wasting time and getting exposed in a waiting room. And the convenience and cost with barriers removed helps one avoid letting problems like a sore throat turn into an expensive ER or hospital visit for pneumonia. If you're interested, search the web for CARES Direct Primary Care.
Southern Sports Now continues here on this Thursday. Glad you're hanging out with us as we've had a lot to cover today. And I want to get to, we talked yesterday, Super All-State team was announced. We had 2 Calhoun County guys on Super All-State. Hayes Harrison, also Mr. Baseball from Oxford. You also had Peyton Webb from Donahoe. He was the 2A Player of the Year, was also selected Super All-State team. He had put together a great season, and he was just a junior this past year, so he'll be a senior coming up next year. So that's another year there with the Donahoe Falcons. Really helped them in their season, but had a chance to catch up with Peyton Webb yesterday to talk about the honor, to talk about being selected, and he talked about just how helpful it was to have his teammates push him to be the best he can be.
It kind of came out of nowhere for me, and I couldn't do it without my friends pushing me. Everybody pushes me. I'm glad they do. I wouldn't have been like that without them, and I'm glad they did. And I've never had anything like it, so it feels pretty good.
When you look at this season, Peyton Webb had 6-1 on the mound as a pitcher, 52 strikeouts, 2.84 ERA, hitting stats 4.02 was his batting average. Hit 15 home runs this year, 51 RBIs, and 32 runs scored. Just incredible the way he hit. Consistently was hitting the ball. 15 home runs and 51 RBIs is mind-blowing to me that he was able to do that. Holds the record at Donahoe now for home runs hit in a season. But just a tremendous athlete is Peyton Webb. And I asked him, what do you do in the offseason to get you ready for baseball season, especially to help with the season you had? And he told me about some of the things he did in the offseason.
I've always been in the gym, but I hit the gym really heavy. I didn't play basketball this year, so I focused in the gym. So I stayed in the gym, gained a lot of weight. That definitely did a part. Me and my buddy actually, named Blake Sewell, we did a lot of research, and we just looked up different things we could do for pitching and hitting. I definitely took some of the old knowledge I had from previous schools like Oxford. I did a lot of that. I just really wanted to make the season different.
Yeah. So congratulations to Oxford's Hayes Harrison, to Donahoe's Peyton Webb on being selected on the Super All-State team. Some more high school news to pass along to you as Shane Morrow. You may remember that name as he was the Jacksonville boys varsity coach when they won the 2021 state championship. Now he's taking over the girls program at Piedmont. And so Shane Morrow had a chance to catch up with us a couple of days ago to talk about taking the job at Piedmont and what he will bring to the program.
It was just a good opportunity to get back to Piedmont, get back home, get back to be where my kids are. And, as everybody knows, it's a great community. It's well known for its sports, obviously, which is a good thing when you're a coach. But it's also just a good community to be in, and community rallies around everything there. And so it was a no-brainer for me when it came about and was offered. It was an easy decision for me. It was a no-brainer.
He's a Piedmont guy. That's where he played his high school career, and like you said, that's where his kids go. And so he's back home as a Piedmont Bulldog, coaching the Lady Bulldogs heading into the year. And, he has a lot of coaching experience. He coached at Jacksonville as a junior varsity coach for many years and then took over the varsity program in 2021. So he's got some experiences he can lean on to help him as he takes over at Piedmont.
There's no secret formula to being successful. It's just a lot of hard work. There's no shortcuts to it, and that's what we want to do there. I think the big thing is to get the kids to buy into the overall goal, and if you can get the 13, 14 girls that we have right now to buy into the overall goal, the rest will take care of itself, because they'll want to work, they'll want to do the little things that it takes to get to that championship level.
And so, he knows what that championship level is. And so Shane Morrow taking over there for the Piedmont Lady Bulldogs, and excited to see as he steps in for Terrace Ridley, who spent the last 17 seasons there at Piedmont. Always a tough assignment when you have to take over for a coach in that situation. But, certainly excited to see what Shane Morrow can do there with the Piedmont Bulldogs. Let's move over to baseball as we get you ready for some baseball coming up tonight. The Atlanta Braves taking on the Colorado Rockies. They were up in Denver back last month. Now the Rockies make their way down to Atlanta for a 4-game series that begins tonight. So tonight through Sunday, they'll have the Rockies. On the mound tonight for the Braves is prospect A.J. Smith-Shaver. Dylan Dodd started yesterday. Again, Braves really trying to find that 4th and 5th guy who can consistently pitch for the Braves. We thought maybe Mike Soroka was that guy when he came back. He did not have a great performance. So A.J. Smith-Shaver coming out. He will be on the mound tonight against the Rockies to get the series started. So if you got Smith-Shaver tonight, tomorrow Jared Schuster will be on the mound against the Rockies. Then Bryce Elder Saturday, and Charlie Morton will be back on the mound Sunday night. And playing 2 games yesterday kind of threw the rotation off. So you've got Smith-Shaver tonight, you've got Schuster tomorrow, Elder Saturday, and Charlie Morton on Sunday. So that's a strong latter half, we know, and what Bryce Elder's done. He's been pitching good. Charlie Morton's having a great year. So we know Saturday and Sunday with some consistency on the mound. Jared Schuster has been getting better each and every game, and then we'll see what Smith-Shaver can bring tonight on the mound. But the Braves open with the Rockies tonight. So you can watch that 620 Bally Sports. We'll have that in Atlanta. So you can check that out. In the world of golf, the U.S. Open is beginning today there at Oak Hills. And so excited to watch some golf this weekend, especially just to see the reaction from a lot of these players that we may not have heard from yet or haven't been in a major tournament since the news about PGA and LIV came out. So the U.S. Open begins today. Always enjoy watching the U.S. Open. So we'll be talking about that some more tomorrow. But it is underway there in Los Angeles. How about this? The total purse for the U.S. Open this year, $20 million. There's a lot of money in golf right now, as we're seeing. The U.S. Open Championship, looking forward to watching that this weekend, and we'll talk more about that coming up tomorrow. That is all the time we have for you. We have had a lot of good stuff on the show today. Appreciate you for hanging out with us. Appreciate those who have liked, who shared our show today. If you missed any of it, go back and watch it on the Facebook archive, on YouTube as well. Just search for East Alabama Now. Join us later today for the EAN Local News. That will be up on Facebook and YouTube as well. And we'll do it again tomorrow, 10 a.m., right here for Southern Sports Now. Hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. Friday show coming up tomorrow. More Southern Sports Now. We'll see you then.